My boys, we have a wonderful machine in our possession, having until we fully explore the full potential of this miraculous machine. We shall tell no one. Hello, welcome to the wonderful world of random sequencing. Today we're going to be talking about the 37 environment here. So we're only going to be focusing on what numbers create a 37 sequence, the formation of 37. And so we're going to avoid any other sequences here because we're only just concentrating on this sequence, okay? So we're looking for a bold statement of that expresses the environment, and that environment is the 37. So if you look over here, you get 11 sequence to a 1. So what you have here is 111 in binary notation is equal to 7, and then it's linked to a 30. So actually this makes 37, and so this is really a bold statement when it comes to forming 37. So this kind of already expresses the environment that we have, which is 37. And again, it's good. It's important to see this sequence, and because it's a really bold statement. And I'll show you another way of forming 37. It's really bold too. Is like when you have a 7 here and it links to a 3. That's another way of expressing a 37 environment. And again, this really says that you are in this environment. One thing to note is that that the 7 has to be linked within a half step, So if it didn't play out here, it has to be here or over here, right? But in this case, you could see that it did connect to 3 here, so it's making 37. So it's just important that this is the first opportunity where you could actually form a 37. So assuming that this is going to happen, obviously you could do it with a 3 and a 7, or if you want to play another number like 30, you could do it that way too. So there's basically two numbers. It's either going to be 3, 7, or a 30 and linked to a 7. So we're going to talk about being in this position, and so we're going to be looking for a number that has a 7, and from that we're going to assume that's going to create that this 7 somehow is going to link to a 3. But as you can see, it didn't really. So one thing to note is that this 30 kind of linked to the 7. It does form a 37 this way, but it's not really a qualifier, but it is kind of like a hint that you're still in this environment. So as we go along, and we're over here, it didn't plan out, and over here we land on a 7. So if you assume that it's going to create a double-digit number that kind of forms the 37, so the critical number to consider is the numbers on the right-hand side. So in other words, this is a double-digit number, right? So this 7 has to link to a 3 over here in this square. So this is like the unknown cell, right? But if you think that it's going to form a 37, this number here has to link to a 3 on this side, on the right-hand side, right? Because the value numbers over here are on the right-hand side. So this one is just the statements. So this number is very critical. If you think it's going to form a 37, you got to have a 3 right in that spot right there. And so this number is just an X number. So there are only 3 options that could fill that square right here, this cell, right, this particular area right here. And that's going to be either a 1 to form 13, or it's going to be a 2 to form 23, or it's going to be a 3 to form 33. So there's basically only 3 numbers that could be played out. So again, it's going to be a 1, 2, or 3. So if it's a 1, it's 13. If it's a 2, it's 23. If it's 33, it's 33. If you play those 3 numbers, you're going to hit. If it all spells out the 37 environment, because you could see that over here is just a statement, and then you have 37 here, right? So we're going to continue on over here because we're only focusing on like the 7s. So at this point, right here, it did create a 7, right? So now we're going to assume that it's going to continue with this theme of creating a 37. So it didn't happen here, and we assumed that. So this is Mother Nature. You know, Mother Nature does what it wants, and it didn't pan out, but that's okay. You know, we'll go over here, and then all of a sudden right at this spot right here, this is important because what happens is this 7 has to link to a 3 of some sort to form a relative 37. So this cell right here is critical. It's only a half step away. That's very important. It could play out over here, or it could play out over here because it's a half step away, right? So we're assuming that this cell right here is going to create a 37, right? And it actually did. So this is like a bold 37. So that's important. This is a really powerful sequence here. This is a 3 and a 7. So you could also play a 30, right? Because if you played a 30 plus the 7, that makes 37. So there are two numbers. Definitely play a 3 and definitely play a 30. And so this is great because this it's a statement right here, really bold. And so we go on, and then we have a 7 right here. So we're going to kind of assume that it's going to play out 37 of some sort. So it didn't, but that's okay. You know, we're just going to continue and continue. And then again here we land on a 17. Okay, so there's a possibility that it will create a sequence where it actually plays out a 37. So what are the variables? So let me show you how you can make 37. I think here you have 37, and this is the bold statement where it did it right here, right? And then you could create a 37 this way too, where we have the statement here, I 37. And then if you have a 17 with a 13, you could also create a 37 because on this side here, on the left hand side, you have the equal statement, and then you have a 37 here. And over here, 11, 13, you could also form a 37 because on here you have a 3, and then this 1, 1, 1 in binary notation is a 7, so it says 37. And then over here you have 1131. So in other words, you have 111. That's binary 7, right? Linked to a 3, so this kind of forms a 37. And then you have the 13.7. This is the I-37. So this is kind of like a soft way of saying 37. I call it a soft way. So it says I-37. And then over here you have the 7 linked to a 31. So in other words, the statement's on this side, so this is the I statement, and then it links to a 37. And over here you have the 1311. This kind of forms an inverted 37. So you have the 3 and then 111. That's a 7. So inverted 37. Same thing with the 31 linked to 11. Here you have a 3 and you have 111. Okay. So we're going back to this 17. So we're assuming that it's going to form a 37. So let's look at what are the numbers that are kind of linked to a 17. So we have the 3, right? That forms a 37. You have the I-37. Over here you have a 13. So so this also forms a 37. You have the equals 37. So let's look for another 17, and I don't see any other ones. So the options are, if you have a 17 played out right here, the options are only two numbers. It's going to be either a 3 or 13. And so if you play those two numbers, you could see that it landed on 13. So that's cool, right? So again, you want to assume that a 37 is going to be played out of some sort, right? A relational sequence. And so over here, we're going to look at the 13s because this is where we're at right now, right? So 13 linking to a 17 makes 37. A 13 linking to 11 makes 37. And a 13 linking to a 7, I think I already said that, is 37. 13 linking to 11. So the options here, if you have a 13, because this is where we're at right now, right? So if you link to a 7, 11, or 17, you're going to make 37. So in other words, we hit with the 11, right? Right there it is, 11. So again, if you're here at this cell and it's 13, the options for that is 7, 11, and 17. Okay, so So in other words, you hit on this number, you hit on this number, and you kind of like play. You could play this out, that thinking that it's going to land on and create a 37, but it didn't, and so that's okay. But you're at this cell right here now, knowing that this one kind of started forming 37. This is kind of like a hot number, right? Because look how many 37s that actually created over here. So this is only a half step away, right? So we're assuming that this cell is going to create a 37. So if you have a 17, right? If you have a 17, there are only two numbers that will create a 37, and that is the 3 and 13. So we're here. So in other words, this is the unknown, and in order to create, if you want to create a 37 of some sort, it's going to be either 3 or 13, and we hit on 13 right here. And then so you're wondering, is it going to continue this way to create it? It didn't, but that's okay. And then it didn't do it here, but this is the last, right here, this is the last opportunity where you could actually form a form of 37. So we're going to have to assume that there's going to be a 37, because this was a hot number, and this was a hot number. So we're assuming that this cell is going to be, from here to here, is going to create a 37. So what are the numbers that we have to play out? So let's go back to here. So we have a 13, right? 13 is equal to, in relationship to options, is either going to be a 7, 11, or 17. So if you play any of those numbers, you're definitely going to hit. So in this case, we hit on 7, right? 7 right here. And so again, we're assuming that it's going to continue. So we have a 7 here. And so what are the options of 7 to make a 37? So the options right here is 7. So we're over here at 7, right? So the options are going to be 3, 13, and 31. So if you play any of those numbers, you are going to hit. So in this case, where are we at? Right here, right? So we play any of those numbers, we are definitely going to hit 3, 13, 31. And it landed on 31, so you hit. So this is basically just the environment, 37 environment. And these are the ways you could actually form that 37 right here, all this. And right here, this binary 7 here, linked to a 30, that was another way. And also you could use these double-digit that actually form 37. So again, if you have a double-digit number and it has a 7, you know that this 7 here has to link to this square right here, where it'll create a 3. So that way you could get a 37. Remember, the numbers over here on the right are the ones that are critical. This one is just a statement, right? It's a statement. So I hope you enjoyed this, and we'll see you in the next sequence. And folks, as always, please click the subscribe button below, show some love, give me some thumbs up. I have links below with PayPal and Patreon, and I will see you on the next wonderful world of random sequencing.